I'll cover how to make a Hammond B3 organ patch on a Korg Trident and a DX7. Although I'll show how to make the patch on a Trident, the method to create the B3 patch can be applied to any polyphonic analog synth with two oscillators. Since a B3 has several drawbars that are basically oscillators to make a sound, it may seem impossible to get the B3 patch with only two oscillators, but that's not the case. I turned off the second oscillator, so you'll only hear the first oscillator. Okay, the VCO1 of the first oscillator is set to 16 foot or an octave below, and the waveform is set to a square wave. The filter is open now, but now I'll close it and you'll hear it it'll start to sound more like an organ. The resonance is set to 4. The keyboard tracking, or the filter tracking, is set to a half. And the envelope intensity of the filter is set to just above +3. If it was at +3, it wouldn't have the percussive attack, so it's important to have it a little above the +3. The amplitude mode should be set to sustain like an organ. The attack will be 0, which is the fastest attack. The decay should be about 4.5. It'll give you the nice percussion of a B3. The sustain will be 8, and the release will be 5. Okay, now I'll turn on the second oscillator. This is it without the second oscillator. And now I'll set it to 4 foot. And the oscillators should be 2 octaves apart. And now hear the difference. But we're not finished yet. I found that the flounger works great on the organ. This is it without the flounger. And this is with it. It adds a nice modulation to the sound. My settings are 2.5 for the speed. The feedback's just about 0. The intensity is 8, and the manual is set to 2. So now you should have an organ that would make even Rick Wakeman happy. Unfortunately, there's no way to save the Trident patch data digitally. I could take photos of the settings to sell the information. So I made this video on how to set up the DX7 to emulate a B3 organ. It's a good starting point to learn how to create sounds on the DX7. But before I get started, I should mention there's a hidden feature on the B3 Rock patch in the off the matrix banks. In the organ patch, operator 4 was programmed for percussion, but you can't hear it the way it's set. So if you go into edit and then set the output level, you get percussion. There's a sweet spot in many of the off the matrix patches where the sound can be drastically altered by changing one of the patch settings. This patch used algorithm 31 for more of a rock sound, but I'll use 32 for this patch in the video. The carriers without modulation on the DX7 produce sine waves like the drawbars on a Hammond organ. I can use the organ setup on the Korg Kronos as a reference. For this video, I'll be running the DX7 and the Korg Kronos through the Korg Leslie effect. Here's the tone of one drawbar pulled out. And here's the tone of one sine wave on the DX7. If you listen closely, you can hear there's a high-pitched overtone on the drawbar on the Kronos that the DX7 sine wave doesn't have. Korg did a good job of creating the leakage between the drawbars that's common of old B3s. You can almost get that leakage effect by having a second carrier set to the frequency of 8 with a low volume like this. I converted the drawbars configuration to frequencies of the DX7. Start with an initial voice. It's perfect for an organ. Use this table to set up the DX7 using algorithm 32. Granted, there is an issue by the fact that the DX7 only has 6 operators to use, while the B3 had 9 drawbars. But it shouldn't be much of a problem because I doubt that all the drawbars are used anyway. So I set up the DX7 starting with the 16-foot drawbar set to 0.5 for operator 1 and ends with operator 6 with a frequency of 4 as the 2-foot drawbar. Or you could set up operator 6 to the frequency of 8 for a leakage effect. After you set the frequencies, you need to raise the volumes of the DX7's outputs. I made this table to convert the drawbar settings to operator output levels. I used the Kronos as a reference. One would think a drawbar setting of, say, 4 would have been a volume of about 50. I found the volumes were higher than I expected. For example, the classic A Whiter Shade of Pale uses these settings. To set the drawbar to 6, the output of operator 1 will be 90, and of course the drawbar set to 8 will be at 100. Now I'll compare the sound of the DX7 to the Kronos. Of course, the Kronos sounds good, but I think the DX7 has a ballsy quality that the Kronos lacks. I like to say that vintage is not obsolete. Admittedly, I'm running the DX7 through the Kronos Leslie effect, which is helping it. Now you too can make beautiful colors with your DX7. Be sure to subscribe.